Hi Gemini, this is your October 2024 soul story. If you have a sun, rising or moon in the sign, this is your reading. And this is Romy here. Thanks so much for joining me on the channel. Okay, we're going to open up this month with the energy of the alchemist, the magician. Now, Libra season, 5th house energy. It's like this beautiful, epic love letter to your inner child in 5th house. You know, we want to get creative. We want to remind ourselves what it feels like to play, to fall back in love with things, to discover the pleasure and the romance of life. But you know what? That can all feel at times really challenging, especially if you are in a place where you don't necessarily feel safe physically or emotionally or mentally. And so it's down to you, and I think the focus, particularly with this new moon eclipse that's arriving on the 2nd in Libra, to think about the conditions that will help you to feel that sense of safety so that you can explore and that you can light up with some of the things that inspire you and will help you to start looking toward the future, but also feeling in your present, wherever you are, that there are things to feel good about, there are things to cherish, to celebrate, and to lean into in a really beautiful, like empowering way. Now, that new moon eclipse is activated by Black Moon Lilith, asteroid goddess, who is in Libra right now, and she's calling us out a bit, right? She's gonna create some ruckus by having those primal emotional reactions come forth and perhaps surprise us or come in to reveal things in terms of how we are responding to the energy that comes up. The magician says that everything feels a bit chaotic and a bit disruptive in the beginning part of October. That's not necessarily like a bad thing, because the thing with Lilith, she's inviting us to lean into the shadow. Eclipses are very much leaning into the shadow so that we can really find something, a route, a path, a highway through the healing and through the transformation to step into our power, right? And I have this phrase that's kind of coming through for you in October, Gemini, that's like, let's do this. And so often we begin before we're ready with little and sometimes no certainty, right? It's a lot of faith, it's a lot of trust. And I think the magician's saying, right, let's just look at progress over perfection right now. Let's just find a way to meaningfully take that next step. And October has an incredibly compelling energy. Compelling because it's trying to bring about change and resolving anything that is not in balance, okay? And so with that in mind, as we approach Jupiter turning retrograde in your sign on the 9th, this is you having an inner journey of discovery, if you like, about the way that you take in and receive information. And why that's important, says the Knight of Swords, is that it's disruptive to your entire belief system, okay? So there's something significant shifting for you. And if I said to you, what has been the biggest thing that you have learned this year? What has it taught you? Because there's something about that realization, that question, and the answer that's going to matter as you navigate through this month of October, as powerful, as intense, and as revelationary as it's set to be. So Knight of Swords is bringing change, bringing news, bringing information. What you do with that information, how you can transmute it, alchemize, make it work for you, is quite powerful. And I think there's something about that in October, especially with the 5th house being lit up. It's like the identification of creative solutions, of just seeing things in a different light, and really having that faith and trust that when you put your whole heart into it and you don't self-abandon through the process, that what comes out the other side, even if it doesn't make sense to you or isn't sort of dropping you at the point where you want to be, who you've become in the process of that journey is incredibly important in the month of October, because what it's saying is that you have to show yourself. You have to be able to clearly look in the mirror and say, this is what I've learned, this is how it's changed me, and this is what I'm going to do, right? And so this is why I'm saying this, let's do this, right? There's the, I'm just going to decide. Like, that's kind of the phrase that I feel like it's coming through. It's just like, okay, this is how it's going to be. This is how it's going to be. And then it's like you just make that promise, you set that intention, and my gosh, it holds some power, Gemini, right? And I think it's coming from this place of identifying and clearing and cleansing some of the wounds, you know, those core emotional wounds. Like I said, Lilith is triggering those responses, and it's like, if this fifth house is this letter, this love letter to your inner child, what is it you need? What is it that is lacking? Like, how are you responding to the way life is treating you right now? So yes, there's pain, but the pain has purpose, and it has a clarity and a crystal kind of focus to it that can be super powerful. Now, Venus comes in the first part of the month with some soothing energy. She's trining with Saturn on the 4th, with Mars on the 8th, and Neptune on the 15th, which means that you can create some conditions around this time that help you perhaps to find some soothing, or, you know, the right time with which to address or to just have a release point, okay? The Three of Swords just gets to the heart of the matter. It gets to the root, and sometimes it's not nice to hear or to realize or to kind of have that moment of awakening. And then from that point, it's almost like a back to basics, you know. There's a new foundation that's getting put in place that is so much healthier for you. And I say again this word self-abandon because it feels like it's going to come up in October for you to sit with and explore. And see how you've been traveling on that particular journey, right? Pluto is stationing direct in Capricorn on the 11th. Last few weeks of this powerful energy shaping and impacting your world, how you've changed, drawing a line, closing a chapter. Is there grief with that? Yes. There is grief in the endings, even if they are wanted. You know, the birthing experience that you might be going through to have this kind of new version of you fully step into the power and the light is at times painful and maybe feeling quite arduous, says the Ten of Staffs. Is it worth it? You know, have I got what it takes? Like, is it something that is worth the investment, the commitment, the devotion? I think in some ways, you know, the answer to that is naturally like there's no other way, because you're just being so clearly compelled and directed down a particular path and course of action, you know, through October. But really, if you look back in the entirety of this year, you can see how it's been unfolding in that way. But there is still this sense of duty and obligation and responsibility that's also sort of hanging over you. And so there's some questioning around that as well. To what degree does this hold value? Why do I feel obligated or duty bound? Where am I taking on too much? The thing with this Ten of Staffs is he's building the house, right? So there's clearly something here that has been worth the investment, because it's providing that new foundation. And if we're talking about back to basics and how you can build upon something, then nothing worth having comes easy, right? So there's also that reminder, even in the, you know, playfulness of fifth house energy, that actually grit and resiliency and having the resolve and that intention to not give up and to keep going and to pursue the things that matter to you is just part and parcel of the journey, right? We don't get to kind of skip out on that part of it. Now, Mercury's moving into Scorpio on the 13th. And here, you know, planet of communication, your ruler, we can become very compelling in what we have to say. You know, it can strike a note with people. And, you know, there's that sort of focus that brings almost like a a depth and a meaning to what you say and how you say it. And the world suggests that can create a sense of like bringing something into its wholeness. Yeah, it's like you really show the true value of something. And I feel like there's also something that can be celebratory, because what you discover in your quest with Mercury and Scorpio as you're trying to understand the way you communicate or how you're expressing or the exchanges that you're having with people, there's something that sort of falls out of that, particularly as you're moving into this Jupiter questioning of how you take in and receive information, where you're clearing out a belief or a block. It's like letting go of a story and coming full circle with something, right? And I think the way that can land for you in October means that you're going to be making very different choices moving forward, right? This is why I'm saying you just decide. It sounds really simple, but it's very powerful. There's a huge completion energy here with the Ten of Staffs in the world. So you might be feeling like you are literally on the last mile of some part of your your life at the moment, something that's going on, and just wondering if you've got anything left in the tank, right? But it feels like you're so close to that point where you can wrap it up and move on from it, that you owe it to yourself to sort of finish on a high and to kind of maintain the consistency and the energy with it. Yeah, and that will make such a difference as to how you feel about yourself, like moving forward with regards to that as well. I also feel, your horizons, like looking further on the horizon is also important. And we're going to be approaching the full moon in Aries on the 17th. We've got Venus shifting into Sagittarius on the same day, and that sort of charge of fire lights something up. You've got a lot of energy and motion here. She's dancing. She's finding kind of a new rhythm. She's trying to balance things, which at times can feel a bit precarious, especially if there's a lot sort of going on. But again, like with the Magician as well, all of this energy and the Knight of Swords, everything's kind of being whipped up and churned up. And I think that's really positive, because it means that anything that's been stagnant, anything that's stuck, anything that's not shifting, or you've been coming up against a brick wall with, is getting this divine intervention to be moved. And that's what eclipse seasons will often deliver, right? This complete change in our trajectory coming through. So I think around that full moon, you're also considering weighing something up, trying to figure out, can it work? Is this possible? How you're spending and investing your time, energy, resources also comes up for debate. There's just this feeling around like getting to the heart and the core and the root of something, asking the right question, and then finding within yourself the kind of the willingness and the readiness to say, okay, let's do this, even when you don't feel ready, because you've got that faith and trust in terms of what happens next. There's the pioneering, initiatory feeling from Aries, the warrior, the one that says, let's go create a new path, like let's do this, let's allow this experience to unfold. So I think that can be a really powerful surge that you can feel coming through, that's igniting something and giving you the boost that you need. There's also a reminder, I think, with the Two of Coins, that dancing, that play, that kind of, how do you bring that in? Fifth house wants you to just experience something that feels lighter, right? It needs to feel lighter. So therefore we need to understand, what is it that's making the heaviness feel so overwhelming in our world, and then start to address that in meaningful ways for ourselves. I think you'll also be coming up against those kind of conversations and realizations through October. Now the veil is at its thinnest. We're going to celebrate Samhain, Halloween, a beautiful time to get the messages and the downloads from Spirit, and feel like you've got that support system. But be mindful of your energy, protect, ground, like know that unwanted attachments can, really be something to be aware of through this particular time and this season, right? So in Scorpio, from the 22nd onwards, your 6th house is coming into illumination, and therefore you're going to be addressing, you know, the rituals and the routines that are supportive of you trying to put these foundations in place for yourself. Health and well-being is really getting addressed under it's like under new management is the phrase they just gave me, you know. So you're having different kinds of conversations with yourself, or different people are coming in to support you in regards to that experience as well, okay? Your single biggest learning of the year, I really want you to take some time to think about that, because there's some nugget, some gold, something in that that's going to help give you an answer for the way in which October is unfolding around you. If you're new to the channel, Gemini, the last 3 cards we look at in the extended reading talk for another 30 minutes or so. We're going to look at a personal and a relationship card for you. So I hope you'll join me if it's resonating and you're able to make the investment. It helps me to keep showing up for the free readings. I am going to just clarify these main cards now and see the direction we will take this reading for you. We've got the Chariot coming through and the 6 of Cups. Now, I have my new journal coming out. It's arriving in November. The pre-orders are open. Life Soul Vision Journal. It's completing the trilogy of my deck and my books. So I hope you'll take a moment over on romywiser.com to check it out. Look at the offers that I've got just now for pre-order. And I'm just excited about this sacred title. I don't think you're going to have anything like this in your collection. You know, it's going to complement your existing planners and journals. It's like a soul Bible. It really holds all of the relevant and important resonant information that you're going to want to return to time and time again through your spiritual journey, right? Okay, let's have a look at the 10 of Staffs here. What do we have? Death, 7 of Wands. Okay. World is coming in with the King of Pentacles and the Emperor, Queen of Cups, and the Knight of Cups. All the decks I use are always listed below. Okay, so let's have a look at some oracles for October for Gemini. This is Life Soul Vision, my own deck. What do we have here? Energy Conversations, Labyrinth of Sweet Surrender. We've got Spirit Lion, the Wishing Tree, a Spirit Owl, Sacred Secrets, and we have Encoded Footprints coming through. All right, a couple more oracles for Gemini for October. Okay, you've got the energy of Exposed. And then finally we're using the Time Traveler's deck. Let's have a look how the energy is coming through. We've got Patience under the Bodhi tree in northern India. Thank you, Gemini. Let's continue this in the extended. Have a beautiful month. Please take a moment to go check my journal out. And I will see you again next time. Bye for now.